Hello, I'm Dr. Marty Greer from Checkout Veterinary, and today I would like to help you better understand dog microchipping. Judy is going to help us by asking some questions, and this should help you better understand microchipping so that you can understand what the importance of that is for your dog.
Great. So, Dr. Greer, what does it mean to have my dog microchipped?
A microchip is a very small, size of a rice grain, passive device that we insert underneath the dog's skin. It's pretty close to painless. It goes in pretty quickly. And when we insert that, then that gives your dog permanent identification that allows the dog to be identified should they disappear for whatever reason.
And can microchips be used to track my dog?
They can. Now, what's important that you understand is that it's not going to emit a signal. So it's not like an AirTag or a GPS that's going to be able to send a signal out to a device. But if your dog is found by a member of the community, by somebody at a shelter, by a veterinary clinic, they can scan that microchip. And that is a unique number, unique only to you and your dog, so that your dog can be identified as yours and they can get in touch with you when the dog is found.
And how is a microchip used to identify my dog?
So that unique number is registered usually with the microchip company. There are several, but it's typically a pretty universal database. So if that ID number is detected, either on the collar of the dog, if there's a tag that says the microchip number on it, or when the dog is scanned, then the microchip company can release the name and phone number of you, and you can be contacted by the veterinary clinic or the shelter or the police department, whoever has your dog, to get the dog back to you.
Who can scan my dog's microchip information?
That's a great question. At the beginning of microchipping a few years ago, there weren't as many scanners out there. So it was a little bit more questionable whether the dog would find you again, because if somebody didn't realize the dog had a microchip, they might not be thinking of looking for it. In the last few years, microchips have become much more universal. So most police departments, most shelters, almost every veterinary clinic is going to have the ability to scan a dog. And once that unique number is identified, a quick phone call to the microchip company 24 hours a day will be able to identify who you are and how to get the dog back to you.
And what does the microchipping recovery process look like in the event my dog is lost?
Well, it's pretty fast. I've had people hear back from the microchip company before they even realize the dog is gone. So if the dog slips out of the vehicle, slips out of the fence, slips through a door, pretty quickly the dog, if it's found by a good Samaritan or a member of the police department or returned to a shelter, that microchip company will be in touch with you very shortly.
And what do veterinarians recommend to get my dog, or I should say, why do veterinarians recommend to get my dog microchipped?
It's the single best way to get the dog back home if something happens. If they're lost, if they're stolen, if something happens, if you're in a car accident and the dog gets out of the vehicle, there's 1,000 things that can go wrong, anything you can possibly imagine. So it's really important to veterinarians that that dog finds its way back home. It's a real tragedy to have a dog that gets lost and you never know what happened to it. You never get it returned to you. So it's really comforting to know that there's a way to get the dog back home.
And what if I forget or lose my dog's microchip information?
Well, the good news is at our practice, we go ahead and register the microchip with the microchip registration company. So you don't have to do anything other than keep your contact information up to date. And if the microchip is then not ever registered, it's at least registered to the veterinary clinic that purchased that microchip. So at the very least, the microchip company knows which veterinary clinic it was, and they can contact us, and then we can go back into our records and find out who the dog is. So if for some reason you didn't keep your microchip information up to date, they'll contact us and we'll probably have your more recent contact information to identify where you've moved to or what your new phone number is.
And are there other smart products that can connect to my dog's microchip?
At this point, there are starting to be a few. There are some GPS kind of devices. So those are useful. There's collars, there's tags that people use that are GPS. But really, the best way is still that microchip because it is passive. Unless you're using an active GPS device, the microchip is going to be your best bet.
And then if pet owners have questions or more questions, what should they do?
Well, we're always happy to talk to them about it. They can give us a call at 920-269-4000 or 608-318-6700. And we can go ahead and go through the information with you and schedule that appointment.